All right, we're live. Network Bits
Hey,
Crypto. We
man.
want Bobby. What's going on, guys? All right, we're kicking
I
off a
want
little
more
bit.
Bobby.
Yeah, kicking off a little bit
Always
later,
more
but
Bobby.
we could always use more Bobby, right? So cool. Neil, you are fairly well known in the Helium community, but let's do, because this is a little bit of an explainer thing, let's do a re-intro. Tell me how you found Helium and what you've been doing with it.
Sure. So I've been running software as a service companies for quite a number of years now, like 12 years, maybe 13 years. And then at the end of my last business, when I sold it, I looked into cryptocurrency. So the first thing I did was build a Ethereum miner, and I realized like how expensive they were, how much power they used. And then I saw an advert for Helium, low power mining, the goals of what Bitcoin wanted to be, node in everyone's house. And yeah, just a really cool little system. So as I learned more about it, I became a moderator, and then decided that I was going to help the community by building a solution on it. An
Yeah.
end-to-end solution that you could sell to your neighbors. Your neighbors could use it without having to know what the Helium network is, how to pay for the Helium network, or how to set up a device. So we've done that so far. Yeah, that's where I come from.
Yeah, and the end-to-end solution is Trackpac. So trackpac.io, spelled the way it's spelled on the screen with Neil. And you've got some pretty exciting stuff. I know that Helium has
Hmm.
been tweeting out what you've been doing. You've got this pretty crazy machine learning piece that you've been doing, and to figure out kind of where the location is without using GPS. So
That's the
let's
one.
walk through kind of what that is, and then we can do some screen sharing and dig into what it looks like.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, the location engine is a piece that we've been working with because the most power hungry part of a tracker is the GPS connection. So, other than the actual LoRa radio of just sending the packet, the next biggest thing is the GPS. So, keeping a connection to know where it is in the world. So, if you can get rid of that GPS connection, you can actually save a ton of battery life and extend it to the point where you get years and years and years of battery life in this absolutely tiny little device. And that's what we've built, and we've had built for a while. And what we've done is use just a system called trilateration. So we work out from the signal strength of hotspot connections. So every device on our platform has all packets turned on, basically. So it might be heard by 15 hotspots. We then use the signal strength of each of those hotspots, and knowing where those hotspots are asserted on the chain, we know where each one is placed, and we can basically use those locations and signal strengths and use math to plot them on a map.
Yep.
We've then taken an AI model of this data. So we've had quite a few tags and trackers running on the system for almost a year now, with all packets turned on. So we've used this data and created a model with TensorFlow that improves that location modeling even further. So basically, we can track devices without having to have a GPS sensor on them. And we can enable that globally thanks to the Helium network. So there's not many networks at the moment where you can really do this globally, and that's why we thought we needed to build this thing. So you could do you can do similar with the latest version of the LoRa concentrator, but the Helium network doesn't use it, and then any other network just doesn't have the coverage of Helium. So if you want to use their location services, you can, and they're ultra precise for like in building tracking. But outside of that, it's useless. So you just can't track them across the country, and that's what we've built with this location engine, basically.
Love it. Love
Does
it.
that
So you
make
take a
sense?
yeah, yeah. You take a trag. Sorry, a trag. A like a nano tag, like this guy. Or yep, yeah. You got yours. I got my tab is actually behind me back there. It looks a lot like this. Um, and you can use
I've
that,
got
or you can
one
use
here.
anything, right? Yeah, you got yours. Nail it. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. In theory, you could send your door sensor to it, as long as it's being heard by more than three hotspots. I could tell you where it is in the world.
Oh,
So it
cool.
doesn't necessarily have to be anything. So it could be used like I've always seen it as if you were, for example, a systems integrator and you needed to locate the sensors on a map just to show a nice interface of where they are in the world. You could do an API call to us with a set of uplinks and get the location back. It can be used that way too.
Badass. I hadn't thought about that at all. I think I thought of it only for like mobile tracking stuff, but that's super smart.
Yeah, Yeah, so but there's a step to that's required a lot of work, and over the last 2 weeks, I've basically created the forwarding service. So the forwarding service is nano.trackpac.io. And what
Okay.
that does is because there's an extra step needed, right? So you get the information like the payload of all the temperature sensors and things, but then in that packet, there's also the metadata which says which hotspots it's heard by. That needs forwarding to our location engine and then onto your source. So this is what the forwarder does basically. There's a little program that allows you to add your tags, forward it onto any source that you want to display it. So that could be cargo, that could be Trackpac, that could be data cake, or it could be your own internal systems.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Anything you want.
Cool. So I can take an oyster off the shelf. I can configure it so that I track it in my console, and then I can also send that data to you and use uplink or sorry, uplink. Use
Yeah,
nanotag or Jesus Trackpac to figure out kind of where it is.
exactly that. So in theory, the meat and two veg of this is the location engine, but to access that location engine is just a bit too tricky for some people. So
Yeah.
they kind of need that forwarding service just to make the management of tags and the data work without any effort at all. So that's what
Love it.
we've been building.
Love it. Dig it. Let's see. We're going to take a look at the screen and kind of see what you've built, but let's talk to about what the limitations are so that folks have a solid expectation of what you can and can't do in this thing, or how to use it, how to not use it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're tracking fixed on-site stuff, then we would definitely recommend using Senet's technology or even TTN networks
Okay.
because they have the it's called TDOA, time date of arrival. So
Yep.
we can't do that because we don't have GPS on our hotspots. So
Right.
we can't grab a timestamp to timestamp it and pass that data on. So we can't use that system, but that system is coming with in the future for Helium. But right now, to get the Helium network working, we need the location engine. So if you're tracking site on stuff on site, then there is better solutions. But if you need to track things across the country or across the regions, then this is what you need to do. One other big thing is, right now it only works in the same region, so you couldn't track something from Europe to America.
Right. Yeah, that's like the big kicker. But they're both pretty big places, and there's lots of stuff to track as it goes around each place, every continent, every region. So I think for right now, that's a problem that is okay to be in the future still. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's see. I'm checking out the comments here. There's one dude who's psyched on HNT price and wants to talk about that. We're not going to talk about solar nanotag on a shirt. I think that's a cool idea. Yeah, looks like you guys are on board with this. We're at Thunder Road Garage
Yeah.
installing sensors every day. So I think one of the super cool things, Neil, about having watched your journey from moderator to really probably one of the bigger businesses running on Helium and figuring it out is just seeing how you've solved problems as you go along and what you're doing with this pretty cool idea of machine learning. Like AI is all the hotness right now. I like how you lean into that and like, all right, well, let's figure out how to make it actually useful
Well,
for people in the world.
there's one thing gathering this data, but then when you start realizing that you can automatically react to this data, like I envision a world where you could be a cold chain business that uses nanotags and the climate controls, for example, automatically adjust to make sure that that product is kept at the right temperature. So you could use AI routines to know that, it's going to be a hot day. We're going to need a bit more, cooling between these hours based on, history of these stuff being hidden here before we need to kind of come up with this program. But it wouldn't be something we come up with. We can just set AI at it, which is amazing. Or, for example, another great example is with cycling. If we could track bikes, I could tell you the accident black spots. The councils can respond to those and fix them. For rental companies and locker companies, you could also show where demand is needed, where things need to be improved, detect accidents automatically, and just generally react to the data. It's the next stage on. Sensing it's one thing, but reacting to it's another, and
Yeah,
that's where
that's
AI steps in.
definitely level up stuff. Very, very cool to see you using. All right, let's take a look at what is it? Your screen. You ready for that?
Yeah, sure,
Cool.
sure. So I was just going to show people a few bits. First is I always like to show this one as it's a great example of how big the actual nanotags are. They're absolutely tiny and then they're just mind blowing, right? When you get one of these things in your hands and you realize how long they can last, it's just amazing. one great thing that nanotags do is they have a battery life estimator on the site. So this is currently set up to check in every 2 hours. It samples every 30 minutes in that period. So you would have full temperature history for every 30 minutes.
Okay.
And you could just see expected lifetime is 3,584 days.
Yeah, carry the one that's 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. 10 years. And it's just that good because if you get a very low reporting period, because we don't have that GPS, it's literally just a LoRa radio uplink. So the temperature sensor is built into the chip, and it just takes a temperature reading of the chip. But the actual LoRa radio is in that, and that's what just reports. So it's really no hardware at all. I don't know if anyone saw Joey's rip down the other day, but it's literally nothing to it, and it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, let's double tap that, Neil, because it took me a while to get that in my head. Is that this doesn't have GPS in it, and all of us think
No.
that GPS is necessary for location. Now, it's necessary for super precise location, sure, but
Mhm.
just relying on LoRa opens up a world of possibilities that without both Helium and this idea of tracking with LoRaWIN, you couldn't do before. This is actually a pretty new thing to have happened, and you're right on the cutting edge of it.
Yeah, exactly that. So this is a route a tag took the other day from a friend, and it obviously went down the M1, so we can track the M1. This is very rough GPS as well. Another great thing we can do is actually map match it to the roads as well. So we have the technology to be able to pin this to the road to show journeys a lot better. But
Okay.
before, you just wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, in the future, we can get it more and more precise, but right now, we just can't deliver a solution like this. This is the only real way to do it, cross country, is use a system like this. So it's just amazing what you can do with them. We think it's going to really revolutionize a lot of businesses, and we've got a lot of interest in this to really grow it.
Yeah, no, it's
So yeah,
incredible to see it. Yeah, cool.
so it's all available at Trackpac, which is at nano.trackpac.io. So anyone can sign up now. It's got two-factor authentication on accounts. One of the features that I really like is that you can just import from the file you get from CalChip. So if
Yep.
you bought a sample of 10 or 20 from CalChip, you can literally just import that file and it will just generate and host it for you, most importantly. So there's no messing around with decoders, no messing around with console. You can just import directly from the file that CalChip give you with your keys and have them running on the network. So and it
Awesome.
just shows you nice little interface at the moment of the last check-in that it had, where it was in the last check-in, and then you have a full Mapbox experience to like manage that as well. And I just love looking at the data and how high are the hills and just the building layer and stuff. It really makes you feel involved in the map, and it doesn't look like just a flat Google map. I
Yeah,
think people
yeah,
are
yeah.
tired of looking at those things. So one thing I loved, I can't really show you at the moment. One of the locations it was in, it just showed you that there was a big hill one side, and you could tell why only a few hotspots were responding to it, and why it picked
Yep.
the location it did based on the geography, basically. So,
Yeah. What
but
are
yeah,
the
that
tags running? How
sorry.
much? Let's see. Let's talk about how you buy the tags and then how much they cost.
Sure. So right now, the only way to really buy them is to go to CalChip.
Okay.
So CalChip are doing them in like testers, basically. So I think you can buy up to 10
Yep.
and get them delivered. If you need larger quantities than that, then you've got to get in touch with them or get in touch with Nanothings themselves.
Okay.
But yeah, when you get those nanotags, to use them on a system, they'll send you an email with a CSV file with all the keys in it. So really simple to just log in, click import, boom, done. You can rip the tags and go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's been super easy for this stuff. Let's see. I'm seeing guys talking about using. And we said 25. It's $25 for one of them, and then I don't know what it is for 10, or what prices you get on that.
Yeah, and over time that will come down. I mean, one of the big things that we need to do with nanotags is get them volume. Once they have that volume, then the price comes right down. But
Yep.
before that period, we just need to start getting them used, get them into businesses, and that's a big thing about why we built this beta. The
Yep.
beta is free because we want people to experience this because it's just so good. It's great, and it's an amazing bit of tech that needed what we built to work on the Helium network.
Yeah. No, that's right. I'm seeing people. So this is a cool thing, Neil, is to think that people see this and they're like, this one guy's like, oh, we should do fitness trackers, and someone else is like, no, that's not a good idea. It's like, oh, we're just brainstorming. It's to see based on what you've built here, people can then build services on top of that. And that was always been one of your dreams for Trackpac IO, is to make it easy for other people to build businesses as well as building yours.
Exactly. I mean, that's the key thing here. I mean, what you got to remember is that this interface that you see now and use on the site would never really earn us money. You know, the money comes from the API that comes behind this. But what we've built here is like an interface to managing user data so that smaller companies can use it and try it. But if you wanted to use nanotags in your system, you can literally just copy our API, pull from our API and use them and display the data however you like. Or you can just take the data and import into your own systems and do it separately. So it's more than just a website that you can use your nanotags. It's a full system that can be deployed in enterprise right now and used.
Yeah. And let's see. The last time we talked about deploying an enterprise, you had a bike client. I don't know if you've been public
Uh,
about that yet. Those guys come out. Did you talk about that? I forget what's secret, what's not. So
No, no, it's public. So they're not using our location engine, but they are using some tech with some trackers that's looking really promising.
yep.
They want to put it on every bike they make,
Yep.
Brompton bikes. They're going to be doing some trials with us with their rental fleet. There's some trials with some clients of theirs that they've got as well that are live that I can't talk about.
Yep.
But they're massive, massive names that are really interested in this. Biking is a huge, huge one for the amount of bikes stolen every year is unbelievable. So there's also some new insurance coming in, some new insurance rules coming in that basically say if your bike's worth over X amount, then you have to have insurance on it. And that, when you start thinking about it, some of these e-bikes are 5,000, 15,000, 10,000.
Yeah.
You need insurance on them. You need your own separate policy, not just your household insurance, because they're that
That's
expensive.
interesting. And then that's a clear opportunity for you to link up with the insurance companies and say, like, well, why don't you just track it,
Exactly.
because it's cheaper to get it back than to buy them a new one.
If you track it and then you can lower insurance premiums, so when they come to market with the law that says that you have to do this, they can offer cheaper insurance premiums. With the battle there, slightly different because it's not just about finding the thing, it's about recovery as well. So you need to have procedures in place that people can go find and recover them with the police being involved, and you have to be sure that the device is where it says it is. So there's two pieces to that puzzle. One is tracking it, and the second is recovery. So you can design systems to basically find them even when they're not in coverage,
Yeah.
and that's what we're working towards.
Yeah. Now, rad. Let's see.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's super, super cool. Did you want me to show me some other stuff on the screen?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I was just going to show you what's coming from this. So
Sure.
right now, this is a couple of weeks worth of beta for me. I've been developing it and just showing you the last location. The forwarding stuff allows you to really forward it any way you want to display this data. But what I really want to enable is experience to actually manage a few tags and show the history and alerts and things. So this is a local copy that's coming soon, but what it will have is full history of the tag. It'll also allow you to add contacts. So a contact will be an alert contact, basically, email or SMS. And then you'll also be able to set up alerts on these tags as well. So if a tag goes over a certain temperature or below a certain temperature, you can send an alert through. So it will be a full end-to-end system that you can manage, a number of tags really easily without having to use a third-party system within the next couple of days, really.
Okay. Rad. And it all starts trackpac.io. Right on.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, so overall, this beta is always going to be free for quite a while,
Yeah.
whilst we're getting the data in and doing it. But our overall goal is to change the model that we've done with Trackpac, and it's going to be very different. So this system is a pay-as-you-go system rather than a per device price. So you'll pay per API call is the idea. And then if you need the features like alerts, contacts, device history, you can upgrade on the account level. So the account level rather than per tracker is a very different price strategy to what we've done before. But it allows you to basically put on a nano tag for I think it works out to like $1 a year going forward. And then if you need the advanced features like alerts, contacts, device history, you'll pay like $40 on the account level rather than the per tracker level. So this system works out cheaper in the long run, but it needs to be, right. We're fielding inquiries about 1 million trackers. So to have a million nanotags on the system.
Jeez.
We just couldn't do it at the level of $40 a tag. So
Yeah, yeah.
we're doing it as a pay-as-you-go model that big business will just pay for the API calls. So their API calls, I think we're almost close on the figure of it being 0.0004 per uplink. So it works out to about $1 a year a tag.
Dang. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's something that we want to move towards with Trackpac as well. We want a laddered system that basically says that if you've got a Browan tab, a Nano tag, or any other tracker, you can log up to our system and use that device for free. There'll be restrictions on what you can do with that, but you can upgrade on the account level. That's going to take time for us to do, but this is our first branch into that with a separate system as such.
Love it. Love it. All right, I'm going back in the comments a little bit. Liam Edwards, Neil point out how hotspot assertions are crucial for this to function. Do you want to use a screen
Yeah,
for that, or
exactly
should I go through
that.
it?
Yeah, well, our system's quite clever. So it overlays like the easiest way to think about it is that say you've got three hotspots, you can overlay a circle where the RSSI says that it can be. It's not quite a circle. It's more of a donut. It can't be a minimum away if it's that strength, and it can't be too far away if it's that strength.
Right.
And where those circles meet is where it says the tracker is. So if you've misasserted your hotspot, it shows up to us. We know that it's misasserted.
Hmm.
But if it's misasserted like 300, 400 meters, it can cause some drift. So assertions are really, really crucial to a system like this being accurate. And it's something that my position in the IoT POC working group, I'd love to see solved, with things like HIP 72, where we do have that TDOA to allow us to know exactly where it is and not have to trust the user's assertion. We can work out where it's asserted and use that location rather than where a user's picked in an app on a map, and dropped a pin.
Yeah, yeah, because certainly with assertions, there's a privacy issue, and we haven't figured out a way to get around that. So there's got to be some kind of reasonable balance. I think I've always told, I forget what I've always told people, within a couple hundred meters, something like that was fine. But it sounds like even so, it's starting at maybe 300 meters ish. You're going to start to see some anomalies pop up.
Yeah, I would say I would always say don't be over 300 meters. I
Yeah,
mean anything under that's generally fine, but be as accurate as you can. It really does make a difference. We want to get this thing out to a lot of customers, and a lot of customers want to use it. So the more legitimate we are, and the more rightfully asserted we are, the easier it is on a system like us. I mean, it is easy to spot when a hotspot's misasserted, and that's one thing that we would like to do. If we can get a lot of trackers out there all over the world, we can start producing a list that says these hotspots are misasserted and they need to be fixed.
yeah, yeah. Love it. Let's see. Sierra's asking about a scanning for unknown trackers feature similar to Tile. I haven't used Tile, but I'm. Do you know what that means, Neil? I can make a guess if you don't.
Yeah, no, they want to know about privacy and knowing if a tracker's on them when it shouldn't be. It's definitely something we've given a lot of thought to, and I think we've got a good system that we're going to be producing. So, based off KYC, we would have to KYC the users for it, but they can sign up to the site and set a geofence around their property. As
Yep.
long as they pass the KYC for that location, if a tracker comes into that geofence, we would alert them for it. It will take us a while to develop a system like that, but it will solve that problem of you could go on, register your property, and say, if a tracker comes in here, I want to know about it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Rad. Let's see. Thunder Road looks like you should just talk to Neil about stuff getting stolen, so you can help your customers track it. Brian
Yeah,
Mills, is it possible to white label Trackpac? Hell yeah, it is.
yeah, we white label, so everything's available, fully branded in your own systems on your own domain names. We can turn billing off as well. You can set your own prices. You can manage the data however you like.
Cool. Oh, and someone's saying my microphone is low. Yeah,
Just
it's because
saw.
I'm not talking into it. Um, cool. Super cool. Let's see. What else, Neil? Is there anything else you want to show me on the screen stuff?
I think that's it basically. Just that I wanted to show that the demo was there. There's a lot of people that have bought a few nano tags that just don't know what to do with them, right? So we really wanted to get this beta up as soon as possible so people could start using them. Over the next week, like I said, there'll be more features added. So if people have feedback, we'd love to hear it. And everyone using a nanotag right now in our system makes a massive difference because it just gives us more training data. So we can, look at the data and see how it works and improve our systems even further. So if anyone wants features, please get in touch.
Okay. Dig it. So the ask here is if you have nanotags, check out the CSV file you got with them. Go to
Mm-hmm.
nano.trackpac.io
Yeah,
and
that's
just
the one.
follow the instructions.
That's the one, yeah. Literally, there's this import from CSV file. If you've got them from CalChip, you'll
Yep.
just be able to find a file, import, and everything's done for you. The only thing you need to do then is literally, I think, wait 20 minutes to clear the XOR filters, and you can rip the bottom off the tag to activate them, basically. And that'll keep it going. I mean, there's some crazy features in here that a lot of people haven't talked about yet. It's probably
Oh,
worth talking about as well. So,
yeah, yeah.
one of them is when this thing is finished its journey, you can drain the battery. So if there's any worries about you having a live battery in it, you can drain that instantly. Another good one for compliance as well is there's actually a data archiver in it, so you can go back and we grab any temperatures that you've missed over a period, so that you have full reporting for the time period, even if it's not in an area of coverage. So one of the big things with the temperatures is you really need a full history of it for compliance. So if you miss any of that data archivist section is really important. Um, yeah, and just one last thing as well, they can be configured. We will have a full configurator for the nanotag soon as well. So you could change the rate, you could access all of these advanced features. They're all coming to this platform. So we should be a one-stop shop for nanotags on Helium.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, we're getting requests for nanotag tutorials, so we'll see if we can get you and David from Nanotags up on there. Maybe we'll get Nick over as well
Yeah,
and figure it all out. But yeah,
love it.
love it, dude. It's a super cool thing. I think the thing that people, really the problem is that I see is they almost work too well, and we have to wrap our head around how do you use a tracking device that can last for 2 years, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
for using it for one trip is a waste of time. So do you slap it on the roof of a car? Do you certainly, from my point, don't put it on a lower value box, $100 box shipping from one side of the country to the other. But there's got to be really cool things you can do once you start to have like, oh yeah, you can use this for 2 years. Like, how do you make it so it's like a pass it on kind of thing? And the person that buys it from my cookie company from Paleo Treats and gets this tag,
Mm.
how do I make it so there's some labeling on there? It says like, hey, you want to track your cat, like to attach this to your cat,
Attach
you
it,
know,
yeah.
which I'm
No,
sure is
you're 100% right, and I think it's like their kind of vision, Nanothing's kind of vision for this is the cold chain storage industry, where
yeah,
they might be tracking these boxes that are repeatable and they're the same boxes every time. So,
yep,
there is a lot of lifetime there for a business that you don't have to worry about. But if you're sending a watch across country for one day, it doesn't make a ton of sense
right,
unless you want that fine level of tracking that's every couple of minutes, which will drain the battery faster. But to be really cost effective for them, they need to come down to $1, which I think we need millions and millions and millions of them sold to get to that volume, to
yeah.
get to that price. But it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Paradigm Miners is pissed that the shipping's $20 and the tag is 25. I'm like, I'll buy a couple of them. But I think that's not the
Yeah,
right answer. The right answer is like, hey, figure out some other folks in your area who might want to buy them, split out shipping, and then go out and test. And think of these things as useful to you and also useful to the network. So think about how you're going to map out with them, what's going to be useful to the network in general. So,
exactly. And there are other options. If you wanted a returnable tracker, there are options out there that you can use that might make more sense for you. This is just one option that's very cold chain specific that might not work for your business, but there are solutions on Helium that will work for your business. I think that's the key takeaway here. It's just people need to develop out those solutions, and we need people in the industries coming to us and say, we've got these problems, how do we fix them?
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
lot of what you're doing.
That was Hack's thing is like, what's the customer problem? How do we fix it? Um, we had a rad Gristle crew call. We had a new member come in and talk to us, and turns out he's a total irrigation geek. And it was just like, oh, as we go down, he just found Helium 6 weeks ago, and just talking to someone who really knows their stuff. The guy's an expert on it. Um, and then sees what Helium can do. It's like, oh man, this is mind blowing. This is all the things that we've been thinking that it was for a while. But if you don't come from some
Mm.
specific use case, you're just like, well, it's cool to have little packets of data go long distances on, with a small energy usage. But you start talking to someone
It's
who actually
incredible.
needs that, it gets real super fast.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally talking to companies that have asked us for millions of these things. Not nanotags in particular, but sensors on helium.
Yep.
So we're talking about millions and millions of devices for the things that you just wouldn't realize lose so much money because they're stolen or misplaced. And
Yeah.
helium really solves that issue for them. They can keep track of them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. In fact, I've got my second or third, whatever it is, GoPro
Mm.
up on the 3D printer here, and it's like I lost the first one just dropping it. I lost a radio dropping it when I was flying my paraglider, and she's like, "Well, there's 0%, not 0%. There's a very low chance I'm going to find that again because it's on a hill that you're flying over, and just because you're flying over doesn't mean you can walk over it. But you can put a $25 or $15 or $1 tracker on these things. All of a sudden, the world gets a little bit more efficient, and that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's just there's just so much use cases for it. I mean, I like to think of nanotags as a brain opener. It opens up ideas for you once you realize that you can make trackers this small. And if you look at some of Joey's stuff that he's done on Twitter, he's cut this right down even further. So a lot of this is wasted space. So this could be even smaller still.
Yeah,
But what you could do with that technology is just incredible. Right now, that's only a temperature sensor, but what if that was, taking a different reading that you wanted? Maybe it could be a patch to sense CO2 or a heartbeat monitor or things like that. It could
yeah,
be absolutely anything.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's a rad thing, and yeah, the more I talk to people who got a local food business here, I just talked to them about putting in a temperature monitor in their walk-in fridge. And that thing is awesome. It's $150 or something. Like it's purpose built for that, but man, for $25 you can slap this thing on. Maybe it's not as good in some way. It doesn't measure everything, but that's a pretty big difference price-wise, and you can slap a ton of these. I mean, the thing is thinking outside the box. Is like how do you use it for ways that maybe it wasn't designed to be used for, or yeah, solving customer problems. Are you
Like
still
you say,
doing
there.
good?
Sorry. I was just going to say, those sensors might be $150 right now, but when you go and look at the technology, you realize how cheap you can build it. So it's about finding that use case, finding that need for it, finding that niche, and then taking what you've learned and creating something of yourself or working with a hardware partner to take it further. That's a lot of what we've done, and there are lots of companies working with us to produce solutions together. We don't have to go all alone, and people will bring the cost down for you and help you with hardware development, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, it's rad to see how helpful people are in this industry. I think the funny thing is for me is in a year or two, I think it's going to get pretty cutthroat as people see the giant opportunities here. But right now, it's like we all get to work together. It's super fun to do that and to be a part of something as early as we are. We're still in that help each other mode. Um, let's see. Are you still doing the founders track? What is it? Founders tab, or have you cut that off?
Yeah, if people want to do it, there's still the offer out there. If you want to just get a tab for a lifetime, one of these things,
Yep.
then you can get it. I can't remember the price off the top of my head,
It
but
was $200. It better not be cheaper. It's
that one,
$200 what I got.
no,
But yeah, charge him 200. I think that was a really cool thing that you did that said, look, if you want to help our company out and you want to contribute at a level that is reasonable for a person to do it and also makes a difference for us, we'll give you this thing in exchange. And I had a bunch of people ask me like, oh, is this going to be, a super efficient deal for me? Am I going to save a bunch of money on it? It's like, no, you're helping. You're doing this thing that is just
exactly.
starting to be able. Like you're helping another company, you're getting a benefit from it, and you're helping grow the system. It's a cool way to invest in something like that.
It's a great way to learn the network, show it off, and have a device that for its lifetime you will never be charged for it. So it's just a great way to experience the Helium network and look at what kind of tech you can build on it. So it's such a conversation opener. It's one thing talking to companies about using the network, but putting the device in their hands and letting them experience it is something different. And every time we've done it, it's changed people's minds. So we've had anti-crypto companies, we've had anti-LoRaWAN companies. It's just changed their mind. Anti-helium, it's just changed their mind as soon as they got a sensor. So
Yeah.
you could be that person that takes that sensor to them and says, like, look, we're solving real world problems here. Duck Tater from Hexaspot Tobias lost his keys. He went and found them. Pezzo lost his bag on a train. He tracked where that train was and went and got it. The other day, one of the Bronson's employees got his bike stolen off of him. Interestingly, he had air tags on him as well. Because the tracker was on the bike, he recovered the bike. They can't recover the air tags because they're not finding enough location.
Really? Huh?
So yeah, the police are not allowed to enter a building to find air tags.
Huh.
So whereas they found the bike with Lorawan, they couldn't recover his bag because the bag was inside the building and they
Huh.
had no proof it was in the building. So we found that for him. We saved it. We found that bike from him and really opened up that experience to them. It's pushed them ahead to say, right, we need this on everything.
Yeah.
It will make such a massive difference, and that wouldn't have happened unless we got sensors in their hands.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Yeah, super cool just to see. Every time we get on, I get on a chance to talk to you, Neil. I'm always psyched to kind of what you've been building and developing. And I'm seeing people in the chat start to kind of brainstorm like, oh, I could put this in a shirt. I could put it in a pair of jeans. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what this guy's saying is about the margin on jeans. Like, dude, have you seen Japanese jeans? The price on those things are like $500 for a pair of jeans. Slide a $25 tag in those things and keep track of your pants.
We've actually got one of the companies we're working with
Oh,
that
yeah.
produce these sensors.
Yep.
They want to put them inside clothing for school children to track
Yeah.
them for their school journeys, which is just great. We speak to people all that all the time. Clothing, it can be possible to put this stuff in clothing. I think it makes a ton of sense. It's not so much to track the clothing, but to track the person in it and make sure that they have a tracker on them that won't get lost or switched off. Or, if a person gets taken, they're not going to take the phone with them. They're going to get rid of the phone.
Yeah.
But if they don't know the tracker's in the clothing, then you still know where that person is.
Yeah. Thank God they didn't have that for me because I was a naughty child. But I'm glad my location wasn't able to be tracked. But yeah, I think it's super cool to see like where this stuff is going. So, ripping, Neil. Well, if you just come in now, best place to find you, it's nano. Let's see, trackpac.io and then nano.trackpac.io to get these tags on and to see what this thing can do for you.
Exactly. And if anyone wants to speak to me on the Helium Discord as BFGNeil, so you can always send me a DM. And Trackpac has its own Discord as well. So if you want to come and talk about tracking or anything really, just come say hi.
Okay. Love it, dude. Love it. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing this with
Yeah,
us.
thanks for having me.
We'll see you maybe on the next State of the Network.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.